Chicago staying in it. Natasha Cloud. And right before the break, this was the scene inside Wintrust Arena after Natasha Cloud got that bucket. She wanted her voice heard. That is Enes Kanter in the building today.
Whatever happened to diversity? Enes Kanter became a bearded beauty, applied for the League of Inclusion, rejected by women wanting to be men. Everywhere you look, everywhere, this joke of a league is breaking down emotionally. This damn league. They don't get it. They just don't get it. They wonder why their league isn't respected. They wonder why no one takes this toxic turd seriously. Somehow, the lovely Sophie Cunningham is being blamed for Natasha Cloud's emotional meltdown last night, a meltdown that is another clear signal of the complete lack of leadership in the WNBA. According to Chris Williamson, also known as Sergeant Simp, this dude seems to be desperate for the attention of WNBA players. He is constantly shooting his shot on Twitter, hoping to be noticed by the ladies. Of course, like most WNBA players, Chris Williamson misses 100% of the shots that he takes. According to the sergeant, Sophie Cunningham is so gross. Ew! Her irrational fear of men wanting to borrow her thongs has been detrimental to our precious league. I don't even know if Sophie Cunningham was on the court last night when Natasha Cloud had her meltdown. If the sergeant wants to blame the white woman for the traveling circus that the WNBA has become, he should be blaming Kathy Engelbert. Late in the third quarter last night, in a close game that eventually became a blowout, Natasha Cloud made a shot to cut the Indiana Clarks lead down to 6. Believe it or not, I think Natasha Cloud's actually a great player. Obviously, she would not make the wheelchair basketball team if she was competing against men, but for WNBA standards, Natasha Cloud is a great player. Last night was a big night for the Chicago Bravado. For starters, they were on national television, which is rare for a team filled with players with faces on the side of a milk carton. Plus, for one of the only times this season, the Chicago Bravado were playing in front of occupied seats instead of empty seats. Last night, Caitlin Clark accomplished something that Angel Reese failed to do for 2 straight years in Chicago. Caitlin Clark damn near sold out the arena. Late in the third quarter, Natasha Cloud hits a big shot. I guess Steph White called a timeout. NBC was preparing to go to commercial break. This was supposed to be a time of celebration. Home crowd in Chicago was into the game. Instead of hearing the usual chorus of snores, the Bravado were actually hearing cheers. The momentum was building. The energy in the building was positive, which is a major problem for this toxic turd of a league because they're allergic to positivity. Instead of celebrating, Natasha Cloud decides to ruin the moment by attempting to fight Enes Kanter. Wait, I apologize for violating the woke commandments. I apologize for committing the sin of dead naming. Several weeks ago, Enus Caner courageously announced that he was now she. Going forward, this bearded beauty prefers to be called Inez, and Inez prefers she/her pronouns. Instead of celebrating with her teammates, instead of celebrating with the home crowd, Natasha Cloud ruins the moment by trying to fight Enes Kanter, an innocent bystander, a paying customer, someone who spent her hard-earned money for courtside seats so she could enjoy the unique ambiance of a pretend basketball game. For those that don't know, Enes Kanter has officially declared for the 2027 WNBA draft. I'm sure she was scouting her future competition, or lack thereof. I'm sure she was looking at teams, looking at players, trying to figure out who she wants to play with next season. Trust me, Enes Kanter is going to be the #1 pick in the WNBA draft. Matter of fact, Enes is such a unique, dominant prospect, she might be given the liberty of selecting which team she wants to play for. If you're the Chicago Bravado, a team that is struggling to win games, a team that can't draw flies to a fresh turd, a team that is not usually featured on national television, you want to do everything you can to make Enes Kanter feel welcome. You want to woo her, buy her roses. You want to treat Enes like the beauty queen that she is. Because if you don't, some other man will. I mean, have you seen the legs on Enes Kanter? She is not going to have a problem finding a date next year in the WNBA. She won't be taking L's on the court, but she will have the attention of plenty of L's off the court. So, how did the Chicago Bravado treat Enes Kanter last night? They called the police, which WNBA players seem to now have the cops on speed dial, for a league that claims to represent the culture, for a league that just 6 years ago was demanding to defund the police. WNBA players sure seem to rely on the cops when they need them the most. My question is, who are they going to call once the police are actually defunded? When a crime breaks out, all the players shout for the girls who used to be guys. Last night, Enes Kanter was treated incredibly rude by her future employers. Check it out for yourself. As you can see, another paying customer is being kicked out of a WNBA arena. Look, all kidding aside, it's obvious what Enes Kanter is doing here. He didn't go to that game last night to watch pretend basketball. He wasn't there to scout future opponents. I can assure you, Enes Kanter is not worried about the opposition in the WNBA. This dude could play with one hand next season and he would be the MVP of the league. Enes Kanter was there to aggravate. Enes Kanter was there to be a nuisance. And Natasha Cloud did the one thing you cannot do. Natasha Cloud bit into the shit sandwich that Enes Kanter was serving. Instead of being unbothered, Natasha Cloud allowed herself to be bothered. Instead of no-selling, instead of ignoring Enes Kanter, Natasha Cloud gave him exactly what he wanted. Once again, no one is talking about pretend basketball. No one is talking about that game last night. Once again, the focus is on the manufactured drama. Of course, the media, they are blaming Enes Kanter, but it's not his fault. He is the customer. He is the spectator. The blame falls on the so-called professionals who, unsurprisingly, were not acting professionally. Imagine my surprise when I see another WNBA player who doesn't know how to be a professional. I don't know if the WNBA knows this, but you got 2, maybe 3 weeks to convince people to keep watching. You have 2-3 weeks to convince people to watch the exciting chase for the golden toilet, or as the WNBA prefers to call it, the playoffs. You know, it's relatively easy to be a big fish in a small pond. It's easy to generate headlines based on manufactured drama in July and August. I was talking to Mick, one of my longtime viewers, about this yesterday. I make between 72, 75 videos a month. That's 75 topics a month, 900 topics a year. The most difficult time to find topics is the period between the end of the NBA Finals and the beginning of football season in September. Major League Baseball is regional. Even though baseball is experiencing a resurgence, it's just hard to find baseball stories that generate national interest. For about 10 weeks, the only thing to talk about is the WNBA, but that is about to change. In order to maintain interest long term, at some point, it's got to be about the product. It has to be about the actual game. And once again, no one is talking about WNBA basketball because WNBA players can't control their emotions. You know, I actually watched the first half of that game last night. My wife was busy making dinner. I was sitting in my recliner with our new puppy. I had just finished watching golf. I needed some background noise while I planned my topics for today. So I decided to give the WNBA another chance to entertain me. To their credit, the game really wasn't bad. It wasn't unwatchable. Caitlin Clark is obviously a great player. Kelsey Mitchell, really good player, maybe even a great player. The Indiana Clarks are a great team. They have some good players. I know Caitlin Clark fans hate Steph White, but she must be doing something right as the head coach. Not only are the Indiana Clarks winning, the players seem to have her back. But as I'm watching the game last night, and I'm trying to get into it, I'm trying to convince myself that I'm being entertained by this, I'm just not. There's just nothing special about it. It doesn't command my attention. I'm watching the BMW Championships yesterday afternoon. It's the middle of the playoffs in the PGA. Even though a lot of the dudes were struggling, even though there was some bad golf by PGA standards in the final round, when I watch the PGA, I am amazed at what they can do because I know I can't do what they do. I get excited when I drive 200 yards and it lands in the middle of the fairway. These dudes are hitting 300-yard bombs. Their form is immaculate. I cannot replicate what they do. Now, obviously, I'm not saying I can replicate Caitlin Clark or Kelsey Mitchell. I can't. But the WNBA is just, they're missing something. And maybe it's because I don't have a team. Maybe it's because I don't have an emotional attachment to the league. I'm sure that's part of the problem. But one of the main reasons I can't get attached to this league, I cannot stand most of the players. How am I supposed to support Natasha Cloud, a proud communist? If you remove the drama, if you remove the theatrics, the manufactured controversy, and all you're left with is pretend basketball, it's just not that interesting, which is probably why Kathy Engelbert doesn't do a damn thing about it. Maybe she knows without the manufactured drama, the WNBA would not have an audience. In her defense, she has decades worth of data proving that theory to be true. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.